lot of these foi incluído.
Olá, pessoas, tudo bem? Como vão vocês? Depois de muito tempo, estamos de volta aqui. Agora desenhando o meu quadrinho, de fato, agora fazendo a arte final. Inclusive fazendo alguns testes aqui para ver se a transmissão fica boa e para ver se a linha também fica boa. Testando 1, 2, 3, testando. Testando 1, 2, 3, testando. Testando 1, 2, 3. Essa captura tá muito baixa para minha voz, considerando que eu sou uma pessoa que fala muito baixo quando eu tô falando sozinho, pelo menos. Testando 1, 2, 3. Para minha voz, considerando que eu sou uma pessoa que fala muito baixo. Tô falando sozinho, pelo menos. Ah. Testando novamente. testando novamente. Parece melhor, parece melhor. A logística e o estresse. Aliás, o estresse da logística desse negócio aqui já deixam a gente completamente frustrado. Mas vamos lá. A logística e o estresse. Aliás, o estresse da logística desse negócio aqui já deixam a gente completamente. Então, pessoas, vamos. Hi, Bankai. I don't know if you're. Hi, Bankai. I don't know if you're listening to it, but Então, pessoas. I'm using mics. Hi, Bankai. I don't know if you're. Hi, Bankai. I don't know if you're listening to it, but I'm using mics. Let's change some things from place to see if we can speak with people without going without moving the head, because I'm always changing my head in the opposite direction of a microphone when I'm talking to people, because the screen where you guys are, it's a different one. Speak with people without going without moving the head, because I'm always changing my head in the opposite direction of a microphone when I'm talking to people, because the screen where you guys are, it's a different one. Let's make some warm up now. Okay, removing the audio from. Let's make some warm up now. Okay, removing the audio from. Okay, I guess everything is working now. Jesus Christ. 30 minutes just to set up the way to work, to set up the studio. Now let's make some warm up to adjust the pressure control on the hand, not on the computer. Apps like CSP try to emulate um, real tools like G-Pen or brushes, and the same kind of technique that we use on these traditional tools can be applied to the mechanics of the digital screen. So technically, um, all the techniques we use with traditional tools should have a similar effect on the digital tools. So the same way I can modify the strokes with the digital pressure tool, I can also change it with the pressure of my hand, and I'm making different strokes to kind of wake up the hand for what it can be done. I'm so sorry for my English because it's not a good English, and trying to draw and speak in another language at the same time, it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world. Right now, I'm making my own comic, which is a comic about. I prefer to call it manga, but it's a comic anyway. Well, it's a story about a girl that can enter in the dreams of a people and try to help them to solve some problems with nightmares and things alike. Um, as you guys can see, I already made this line, but I'm not satisfied with this line thickness because I think it seems um, how can I say, it seems it has no balance, no weight, and the line does not translate the sensation of difference between dark, between light and shadow. And I want to change, I want to test at least a different aspect. I want to test when I made this line, my hand was heavy, and I made all that warm up to try to make this kind of line variation that we didn't have before. There are two ways that I can achieve it. I can have I can have uh, a thick preset stroke like this. This is wait. This is the maximum when I apply a lot of pressure. This is the thickness of the stroke. So I can draw this way from this thin line until this strong thickness. And the other way I can do this is to draw a thin line since the beginning, and then apply multiple lines, multiple strokes to have the thickness I want. Honestly, I use both. It depends more on how my mind is working on that day, because I understood with the passing of the time that my mind doesn't work the same way all the time. I'm always changing the way I perceive things, the way I perceive the sensations of my hand, the sensations of the movement, and the strength I have to apply on the things. So I try to do. I try to go with the flow and change the technique I'm using according to how my mind flow is working on the day, which is a shit for consistency. But since this is more a personal work than a commission, so I think it is a kind of luxury I can have. You guys can see the variation. I'm trying to apply more pressure on the bottom lines, because that's where the shadows are running to. The light comes from above and goes downwards, and that's why I try to keep the line thicker on the bottom. Also, we must try to balance between thick lines on the outlines, on the contour lines of the main elements of a drawing, and thin lines for the internal elements, because this also gives us more three-dimensionality to the drawing. This is something that I consider important myself. Um, I also try to use thin lines for hair. And when I say thin lines, I mean a light hand. Keep the light hand is always important. But it's hard to have control. See, you can have more control when you um, grips when you grip it, when you grip the pen closer to the point, closer to the nib. I mean, um, I don't know. It takes some times for me to see myself, so you might see me holding the pen for a few seconds in front of the camera, because I'm adjusting. Well, if you if you want to have a lighter grip, I mean, to have more loose lines, you can hold the pen and at this point, uh, and you're gonna have looser strokes. But if you want to be more precise, you comes here closer to the nib, and you're gonna have more precise lines. But at the same time, your lines are probably won't be so loose. So drawing loses a little bit of the how can I say this? It's not so natural. So sometimes we have to find a balance between the usage of both techniques. And if you see my head um, changes drastically, as I had a pain in my neck, it's a vicious. It's something that happens naturally. I don't know why. I just realize sometimes that I am with my head pending to the left side, to my left side. And if you guys have any questions, you can make them and I'll try to answer them. I've been struggling with this story for a long time. I've been um, I've been working on it for some years, going and coming back. Forward and coming back, forth and coming back, forth and coming back. It's because I want it to be perfect, but I realized after some classes in a manga course that it will never be perfect. I can work on it for all my life and it will never be perfect. And then I decided to give a chance to it to be born and then improve it while I make it, because if it won't go, if it doesn't go, um it won't give space to a better story. Neither it's going to be a great story, neither is going to give space to a great story to be born, to another story to be born. So I must do it. I must take the risks. This is part of the game. If I don't risk to lose the story, to turn it into a shitty story that nobody likes it, I will never learn with it. This will never get the light, and it will never have the chance to be appreciated, and good or bad, it must come to light, because if not, if it's a great idea and goes away, I win because I gave birth to a nice idea. But if not, I win again because making it, no matter how bad it goes, it will gives me the experience uh, and the space to work on another story. I didn't like this shading here. And I guess this is one of the biggest lessons I learned in manga school. And it looks obvious. You probably listen to it in some story. Everybody knows this on head, but just a few of them, or just a few of us, really internalize this, to really put it inside our hearts, because it's easy to say, oh, I need to risk the stories and etc. and give place to another if the story doesn't go well, and learn with our mistakes and etc etc. It's easy to think on these things, but it's different to put it in practice, to really do this with a story that's yours, because we are talking about hours, days, months, sometimes years of labor when you are shaping, working, building on your own world, on your own ideas. And it's hard to let all this work let go without a guarantee that it is going to come back to you, to give you a reward for all that time and effort. But that's the point. The experience is already the the reward. Let's compare now. Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess the new one is better. Is there music playing? No, there is. And it seems like not all the messages are coming through to Restream chat. Actually, Restream seems to be frozen. Oh shit. Sometimes I like listening to music when I'm drawing, and sometimes I just prefer the silence. I don't know which ones you guys prefer. But you can tell me if you want. It depends a lot on the day, you know. My mood changes quite easily when I'm drawing. Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. I am I am the kind of person that that has no an exact formula of an exact way of behaving, of working. and for me it's quite hard to keep a routine. And this is reflected in a lot of things, including the consistency of my transmissions. I already thought I could have ADHD, but I realized it might be just anxiety. But I don't take pills for anxiety. I don't take any pills actually. Maybe I should, but I try to lead with my nature the way it is. You know, can I say this? No, I just don't like taking medication for everything. You know, sometimes you take medication for anxiety and depression and a lot of stuff that inside your heart you know what is the solution. For instance, you need some money to do something you want to do or you must do, like paying some bills or um, or medical expenses or something like this, and you get anxious or depressed or something. You know what the solution is: money. You only take the pills because you can't have the money you need. Same with love. For some people, as human beings, we are how can I say this? We're social people. We need to interact with other people, not necessarily a romance, but friendship, chatting, etc. And when we don't have this, we feel anxious, depressed, or something alike, and we go for a psychiatrist or a therapist of any nature, take pills and put a lot of medication in our blood and get the consequences of this is big amount of medication. We know it's not good for our liver, but in the end the only thing we need is a friend. So if we know the cause for our pain, and the cause is something we can do something about, I guess it's better try do something about. Of course, some people not necessarily will have the possibility of trying it. Sometimes we are too shy, or sometimes we are not possibilitated to. Sometimes we just can't work because of some disability or anything, and this is not our fault. And I guess this is the moment when you have to take the medications and etc. But that's for me, at least. I try to minimize to. that the correct word? Minimize. Well, try to avoid taking so much pills. Pay attention that my traces don't look all the same. Even you know, how can I say this? I made the sketch. Now I'm making the line art, and in the middle of a process, I changed my mind about some contours. That's what I'm talking when I talk about having a mind that changes a lot. Because different tools produce different sensations during the process, and as the sensations change, the approach changes too, and in consequence, the traces also change. The decisions we make while creating change. You see, I guess I made her fingers a little more pointy when I was sketching, and now that I'm making the line art, the definitive line art, by turning those fingertips a little more round. This is a static decision. That I made, but if I was sending the sketches for another artist to make the line art, probably they would be different. Oh, or no, probably he wouldn't make these decisions, he wouldn't make these changes, he would try to he or she would try to keep the closest as possible of my original traces. That's interesting when you compare the solo work with the partnership work. I guess that's why manga is so interesting. Art in general, art process in general are interesting because of this. Again, I apologize for my poor English. Sometimes I feel I don't speak correctly. I mix up wrongly plural and singular words, and there is no good concordance. I guess that's the word. Well, it's a poor grammar. That's it. I guess that's the proper way to express myself. My grammar is a shit. But at least I have the excuse that English is not my mother language. Man, I should have started for this bag instead of the girl. The line is flowing better here. But that's it. I won't remake the girl, just to have a better flow on the line art. Not again. I already did this once. I won't do it twice. As you guys can see, I didn't place the hair on the characters in another panels, at least not on the two girls. And there is a reason for I didn't do this before. That's because those clothing lines and man lines I made yesterday after 1 a.m. I was tired and I wanted to keep working because I really love drawing this thing. I really love drawing my own stories, and the only way I could do this with the level of tiredness I was feeling yesterday was drawing the easiest part. And actually this is some advice for people who are just starting and drawing their own comics, I guess. Always try to draw the easiest parts first, you know, things that you think that you can handle without much stress, and let the hard parts for the ending. And I guess this is the same logic you apply on a test, and you school in a school test. Remember when your teacher says, first answer the easiest questions, then go to the hard ones, and that's simple. The reason is because if you spend too much energy trying to answer a hard question, you will lose the easy questions, not because you don't know, but just because you're lacking energy. And I guess it's the same when you're drawing comic pages. You go to the easiest pages first, to the easiest panels first, so you can produce more and quickly, and then you can come back to the hardest parts and draw them and spend that energy. And I guess it's kind of stressful in some ways, because the last parts of your drawing, of your process, will be always the the most stressful parts. But you can gain a lot in productivity, because you can advance in many different pages, and in the end you want to finish the current chapter and goes to the other one, or finish the current story and goes to the another one. I guess this is most of the people. I guess this is what most of the people feel. I should be wearing glasses. My glasses are not good, so that's why I draw mostly without them, but sometimes just have to wear them. Hydrate yourselves. I don't know if I should I don't know, take shots of my hand while I'm drawing. Once I'm not a charming girl drawing this comic, maybe you guys would prefer to see my hands than just get my face. Yeah, I don't know. Can you guys see again? Changing the thickness of the line while drawing. I could use different size brushes, but changing from brush to brush sometimes breaks the flow, and you want to keep the flow. Changing the size of the pen always breaks my focus, always breaks my flow. It's like I'm making something different, and it won't go so natural. This is pretty particular of my own drawing, of my own way of drawing. This is my process. You guys don't have to think, oh, I should domain this. No, there are, if you want to have a line with this balance between thick and thin lines, you can do this by just changing the size of your pens. This thing of keeping the same pen all the time, it's just me. It's just some vicious, some limitations that come from traditional tools. When you are drawing with a G pen, you don't change the pen size. You don't change the nib size. You just change the pressure you apply on the pen, on the nib. And I want to keep this kind of flow. I want to keep this kind of behavior in my digital work. Nowadays, my digitals are far better than my traditional abilities. Since I work with digital art, I guess it's just natural. After all, I spend more time here drawing, making commissioned work, or drawing digital comics, and it just happened. idea. And this is just some of the advantages on digital drawing. You can just use a bucket to cover a lot of space. To do this with ink would take like forever. That said, I still make traditional tool drawing to relax and also to improve my abilities. I think the limitations of pen and paper, of inks, real inks, can make your can make your brains work harder and improve faster. So even if you are drawing your own art digitally, I might suggest you to study on traditional tools. You know, acrylics, wash, nankin, no matter what it is. Whoa. Sorry for it. Man, I'm super tired. I got woke up until late and I slept very late and woke up very early. Today was a day to take my mom to the medics to make regular exams, routine exams, and that's it. If you don't sleep well, you will look like a zombie on the other day. Guys, I'm making a pause right now. It was a pleasure to have you with me for what, 1 hour and 27 minutes. I'm sorry for the first 30 minutes of the streaming was just adjusting equipment. Um, but I guess the time I spent here was pretty productive. As you guys know, I work with commission illustration, and I don't have much time to dedicate to my own project, so I'm taking about 2 mandatory hours every day. That's a way to keep the pace and produce something until the end of the year. Um, this is going to be a horror-like comic. You know, I don't like to use definitions because I'm not focusing on give bumps to people, but um but I like the dark, heavy themes that you can explore in horror. That's something that always fascinated me in manga. The massive use of dark and heavy themes to explore. Things that you usually didn't see in Western manga, in Western comics. I mean, um, when I was a kid, it might look like something very simple and stupid and maybe childish, but maybe other people have felt like me, so I'm sharing this with you guys. When I was a kid and watched Western cartoons, they were mostly superhero cartoons, and they have action, they have um, situations of action, but those action was always limited, you know. Nobody was actually hurt, and there was no real danger in the things. Nobody ever died, and the characters were always plain and have no guilt and no real pain and things like this. And when I started having experience with manga, I started to see characters that really bled, that really got hurt, and characters that would actually die and keep and be dead. Like, you know, if you are used to superhero cartoons, you know, nobody dies forever. The character dies, and some point they come back because it, well, the company won't just give up a interesting and already made character to uh, give space to others that are experiments. You know, they won't give up a Joker, which is a popular character, uh, just just for drama. No, they won't do this, and you never feel like the things could be real in superhero comics. I guess And in manga and anime, I felt for the first time that the character that I was worried about the characters, because if they died, they wouldn't come back. If they hurt, they would bleed, and and this was something that conquered my attention and made me fall in love with manga. And I have a thing for horror stories because I guess in horror themed stories you can explore things that you usually don't do in superhero stories or in adventure stories. You can explore aspects of the human mind, of the human soul, of even our perception of reality. And that's something that made me think of what I could do that could go in this line of work. And I thought about a girl that enters people's nightmares. And this is something I'm not sure if I am good enough to explore this idea to the point I'd like to, but I would like to try. And what if it doesn't work? Well, if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. But I must give a shot. And no, it's not this girl. It's this one. This is the one who enters your dreams. This is just her. This is just her bell. That works as a bodyguard. Man, I promise one day I will learn how to make jokes while I'm drawing, because I'm pretty sure it will turn the videos much more interesting than just see a guy drawing and talking bullshit about his own process. With a poor English. But if I could say jokes while drawing, this would be a stand-up comedy. Not standing, of course. Maybe a sit-down comedy show. But who knows? I might become rich and famous, and then people will come up for these one day old videos of process, and will say, oh, see how was Jack working in the beginning, nice, he was starting like us and had difficulties, and look at how shitty was his drawing all that time. I hope this happens, but right now I'm just joking, I guess, you know. Now I'm gonna make a pause and I'll return later for my paid work at Picasso.tv / Apocalypse Jack. If you like my kind of content, if you want to see some, I don't know, adult work, you can see me at Picasso.tv / Apocalypse Jack. I stream every day afternoon and part of the night, Brazil time. And I invite you to see. So for now, bye bye. See you guys later.